What is up, ladies and gentlemen, Manny here. Welcome back to another episode, a more lead climbing focused episode this time. Recently, Thorsten and I began to replace routes on one of the main walls of the climbing gym in Fürstenfeld. And so it happened to be that I could actually set my first ever lead route. And it was an interesting experience. So what I planned for this video is kind of similar to the analytic bouldering approach from the past, where we are simply going to take a look at the route from a little bit of an elevated spot so that you can get an idea of what the holes look like, the distances, the clipping positions and so forth, kind of like a pre-on-site attempt inspection, so to say. And I'd like to inspire you to think about some beta first, and after that I'm going to jump on the route myself to show you how the moves are actually executed as kind of a control whether you were right, and yeah, what I had in mind when I set the holes, the way I set them, and so on and so forth. So let's begin. We are looking at them gray holes here. The grade of the route is around 7C plus-ish, which would convert to something like 512C to 512D. For you Yankee Doodles out there, the terrain would be best described as slightly overhanging. Looking at it from the ground, it really gives you that feel of an almost vertical face climb. And as we're going to see, I tried a bit to emphasize that character with my hole selection and placement. So just to give you a little bit of an orientation lengthwise, this round hole here, pretty close to the bottom, is pretty much in my face when I'm standing really close to the wall. So that's around like 173 centimeters or something from the bottom. Just to give you a little bit of an impression on how this all relates to each other lengthwise. So let's get started. We're starting off with some pretty simple moves, I would say. It's always a good idea, I think, to not start too hard, or to not put the boulder crux at the very beginning in a lead route in a climbing gym, because you want to prevent basically the people from hurting themselves with an early fall and sloppy belaying or anything like that. Usually the cruxes of lead routes are somewhere in the last third of the route when it comes to indoor lead climbing, either a bouldery crux or a more endurance crux. And yeah, you can guess what I picked here for my route. Pretty far move here to the left with an intermediate hold, and then we've got these two pretty interesting, really shallow, really slopey two-finger pockets here. I'm adding that here because you can't really anticipate it from this view, but yeah, again, these two-finger pockets are really shallow and slopey. You actually have to make one clip from these, namely the quick draw that is closest to them. So you can either decide to clip it with the left or with the right hand, depending on which two-finger pocket is better for you. And that's actually, that adds a little bit of pump to the hand, which is holding during the clipping, obviously. And then straight away from these two-finger pockets, we've got kind of a far move to this slopey, bulgy thing up there. Now, as you might have noticed, I didn't really screw a lot of additional footholds into this thing. And this gives the route kind of a really high stepping character, so to say, because you have to climb the route in a kind of a hand-foot style, which means that everything that you gripped with your hands is going to be a foothold later on. And sometimes you just have blank wall in between those holes, as you can see. The distances are quite far sometimes. So you really have to be, kind of flexible in the hips, and you gotta be able to step high. And I really like that when it comes to vertical face climbs. That's why I wanted to emphasize this here as well. So we've got here this alien head. It's kind of a good pinch with the right hand probably. Below that we have a really bad sloper. As you can see, it's a bad sloper in one direction, but I actually turn it around so that it's even worse in the other direction. We've got a slight little edge on there. So you gotta find a solution for this situation, basically, on how you're gonna end up with the right hand on this alien head up there. From there, we have one move kind of far again onto this sloper with the left hand. And then it's getting really interesting from a hold order point of view, because as you can see, we've got here at the end of this sequence a really high, really far move to this slopey thing up there. So obviously we're gonna have to have the pinch below that with the right hand. to be able to jump up there with the left hand, you know. And you can't really match this starting hold of this dyno, so probably we're gonna have to have the hold below that with the left hand, and again the hold below that with the right hand. So this is how hold order can kind of give you a hint on how your beta is going to look like, you know. And down there we have this pretty obvious foothold that we had in our hands before, this sloper from before. And these three holds, they kind of look really bad, and honestly they also are. I mean, they are not really good, but as pinches they are quite okay. So we've got here this really cool sequence of 3 pinches in a row, and yeah, kind of crossing over moves probably, since we cannot match them. This again relates to the topic that I discussed recently in a technique episode where it was about Gastons versus crossovers, I think. So yeah, if you're interested in that, check that out. Big move to this sloper, and this sloper, I mean, it's not really obvious from here, but it's actually in a small overhang, so the hold on itself, on its own, it's actually not so bad, but in combination with this slight overhang, it's actually getting not so good. Despite that, probably possible to make a little bit of a rest there, because we have some footholds available, and you actually can match hands on this sloper. The sloper is big enough, obviously, as we can see, to match hands there. So maybe we can get a little bit of a rest in there, and then we've got the sloper there on the edge around the corner, which is already in the more slabby part again, but still doesn't make this hold very good. And then we've got this really interesting sequence of these 3 2-finger pockets here. Again, very shallow 2-finger pockets, kind of fitting the style of the root. And we're gonna end up there at this high 2-finger pocket somehow, from which we have to make a move to this really flat kind of alien head hold again, which is up there in the last vertical section, so to say. And what you cannot see here, and this is something that I'm simply going to tell you because it's kind of unfair, is that there is an edge on top of the 2-finger pocket of this last high 2-finger pocket there. So it's actually possible to match this one. And this is obviously what we're gonna have to do, because as you can see from a hold order point of view, we're gonna end up with the right hand at this 2-finger pocket. So how in the hell are we going to be able to grab the next hold with the right hand as well? You know, it's not gonna be possible. But of course, we're gonna slip into the 2-finger pocket with the right hand. We're gonna match it on top of that on this edge with the left hand, which is actually pretty bad. And then we're gonna somehow have to get our feet really high to be able to hit this small little shallow alien head up there, getting the feet even higher. And the next hold, which is something that you cannot see from down here as well, is actually a 1-finger pocket. It's kind of okay, you know, for a 1-finger pocket, but still, it's a 1-finger pocket, so yeah, it's kind of a challenge. And from there, you can grab this next slopey alien head up there. And this is actually, doesn't look like it from here, but it's actually a pretty good hold in this slabby area. And from there, it's still not over. As you can see, we've got one more pretty bad sloper up there, really close to the anchor already. And then up there left, close to the corner of the wall, there is this top hold, so to say, from which you can actually clip the anchor. And this is a bit of a heartbreaker. I gotta be honest here. This last move is not easy because the sloper is really bad. So it probably is going to pay off to rest a bit on this alien head before, which is not so bad, you know, after the first crux. So we don't want to fall here when we already are through the main crux basically. So maybe rest here a little bit, and yeah, then probably grab this sloper with the right hand, a little bit of a crossover, and then make a huge lock off to this top hold, stepping really high. All right, so I hope I could give you a little bit of an idea on how the solution of this route could look like. I would say, yeah, let me jump on it and let's see how it turns out. And on the starting hold, we've got one starting foothold down here, right foot, and there we go. First move right hand, and straight away second move left hand, and then we've got a first really high step here for the first clip, and then this move into this Gaston. It's kind of interesting because there's 2 Gastons on it, one higher, one lower. It's actually good enough to be able to clip the second quick draw. Really high foot again, left foot, intermediate. Here I figured it's actually easier to clip the third quick draw right away. intermediate, big left foot, and then really nice pushing over, big move to this left hand hold here. And then we are already at this section with the two very slopey, very shallow 2 finger pockets. Now here I figured it's probably easier for me to just clip it from the right one. It's basically stepping the Gaston from before and just getting the clip in. Grabbing the second shallow 2 finger pocket, really high right foot, and again just simply you know, hopping 1 step higher with the right foot to make this kind of big crossover move to this bulgy sloper. And here we've got this small little hold again besides that sloper, which you can actually turn into an undercling. And we're going to see how I solve this solution. A little bit of a shakeout there because it's actually possible. The holds here are not too bad. First lock off onto this kind of really bad edge on the other side of this sloper. High left foot, switching the left hand to undercling, making a little bit of a foot switch, and big move to the alien head, which is kind of a pinch for the right hand here. Getting the clip in, locking it off, and again next big move onto the sloper, ready for another clip here. So now we're entering the sequence with these 3 pinches before the big dyno. First pinch here with the right hand, foot switch, and again another one of these nice little cat moves. I don't know how to call these cat jumps, you know. It's an element that occurs naturally very often when you don't screw a lot of footholds into vertical face climbs. Lining up, the big move, right hand on the pinch, you know. Here I hesitated once, and then 1 big move. It's always, you know, I like to challenge the climbers to kind of go out of their comfort zone when it comes to fear of falling. And for that you need dynamic moves, you know. Dynamic moves are just so awesome if you want to test the psyche of a climber, I have the feeling. Anyway, foot switch, right foot really high, making 1 more move to this sloper on the more slabby section. As you could see, we had a little bit of a shakeout on the sloper before, and now we're entering the crux here. First 2 finger pocket, really shallow, again another cat jump, really high left foot, crossing over into the second 2 finger pocket. These 2 finger pockets are not good, I tell you. So yeah, getting the left foot high, locking off the third one to get the clip in. This is actually a bit unnecessary. If you wanted to be super efficient, you could skip that clip actually. Matching it, as I told you, on this small edge above, grabbing the shallow hold, getting the left foot even higher, and big lock off into that 1 finger pocket. As you can see, it's actually good enough to make another clip here. Big right foot, again high right foot, and then finally hitting this kind of side pull alien head, which is not bad, I tell you. It might look bad from the bottom, but in this more slabby area of the wall, it's actually not that bad. So here is an opportunity to get another shakeout in, get the clip in, and prepare yourself for the last kind of move. Probably we're gonna go there with the right hand, as we discussed before, and then get a really high foot in there. And you actually can decide, it doesn't really matter if you step this next foothold with the right or with the left foot, because as we know, we can either do a back step or a flag. In this case I did the flag to reach the top hold, but as we know already, because you were so nice and watched all my technique episodes, of course, because they are really awesome, and you know that you can almost always exchange a flag with a back step and vice versa. So yeah, that's basically it for this route. As you can see, you can climb through it actually really quickly if you know how it's done. This was not an on-site attempt or my first attempt or anything like that. I already climbed the route before, kind of adjusted a few things, so I obviously already knew the ideal sequence through it. I have to say I'm pretty proud of that route. I really like it. It turned out pretty much exactly the style that I wanted to have it, and yeah, I'm looking forward to setting more of these routes. Let me know down below if you like this kind of video. Drop a like if you did, of course, as always, it's appreciated, and leave a comment. And I guess I'll see you soon in the next one. Hope you're doing fine. Bye.